All right, so I have Tommy Lee here. He is one of my accelerator students, and what's really cool about the conversation we're about to have is he is going from professional athlete to entrepreneur within a couple of months. And so this is going to be a really interesting conversation of how he went from professional athlete to entrepreneur and why he did it, right? A lot of people dream of becoming a professional athlete. He did it, and now he's deciding to go another route. So Tommy, it's really good to have you here, man.
Yeah, Trevor, appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. So, Tommy, we've been working together for a little while now. You're up in Calgary, so you're Canadian. Really fun. We love talking about that kind of stuff. What's your sport of choice?
Well, I play hockey professionally, but I would definitely say golf is my number one sport. I love to swing the sticks.
Dude, you're always talking about golf. You've been playing for quite some time, but you're currently where right now playing professional hockey?
I'm over in Sweden, so I actually went to university in the States, a school called RPI, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. It's a Division 1 school over there, and I got to play 2 years there, unfortunately, because of COVID. So that kind of put everything to a halt, and I thought maybe my career is done. But fortunately, I got an opportunity over here in Sweden. I've been here for the past 3 years now, um, so it's been a great experience. Learning a new language, and I actually met my girlfriend over here as well. So it's been pretty cool.
Dude, that's awesome. You've been out there for a little while now, and I know that a lot of people are going to be really curious about why you would move from being an athlete to an entrepreneur and just becoming a full time business owner. I know that you're still doing a little bit of both, but can you just kind of break down and give me an idea of like where your head's at with all of this and why you're choosing this route?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, I think being an athlete, you can translate that to being an entrepreneur. I think the commitment level that it takes to be a pro athlete and the commitment level it takes to be an entrepreneur and be a successful one go hand in hand. So that's probably one big thing that I enjoyed. Another thing too is like I don't want to work for somebody else. I don't want to be on somebody else's timeline, especially waiting for a paycheck every 2 weeks. That's not something that I was looking for. So having the opportunity to kind of take things into my own hands was one of the things that I looked for most. And then also, I'll be honest, like my dad's an entrepreneur, so he kind of pushed me in this path a little bit. And we have a lot of time as pro athletes. Like I'm probably in the rink and in the gym 5 6 hours a day, so you have a lot of time on your hands, and you can either be playing Xbox and that stuff, and wasting your time unless you're going to be one of those guys, or you can kind of bootstrap it and start something, and put a plan B in place once your career is done.
Yeah, you've it's always been interesting to me whenever I have a chance to talk with somebody who has that athlete mentality. We like to say pro athlete mentality. Um, it translates so well within the business realm because you kind of have your back against the wall and you have to figure things out, and it's not easy, right? You have to have a really strong mentality from the get-go, or else you're going to fail, you're going to crumble. And so you've always brought that in. I remember when we had a conversation, probably, I don't know, like 6 7 months ago, you had said, this is where I'm going to be at, and there's no other option. And that's what you put in front of yourself. You just didn't give yourself a way out. You just said, I'm going to go all in with this, and that's just what it is. No questions. And now you're making it happen. So I'm
Yeah,
really
yeah.
curious.
I mean,
Oh, go ahead.
no, sorry. I was just gonna say, yeah. I think I think everybody has to do that, right? Like, if you're not gonna put your 100% effort into something, why do it? Um, I've been told, you can't put 100% of effort into two different things. And I would agree with that. It's a little bit difficult trying to be an athlete at the same time as running a business. There's times where you're going to have to sacrifice one or the other. But at the end of the day, it's a great learning experience, especially just, starting out doing the business. So for me, it's kind of all or nothing, and holding yourself accountable is huge.
Well, you chose to join Home Service Academy, right? But what made you choose house cleaning in particular? Because you said, I don't want to be somebody else's employee, or I want to be my own boss. I want to be the person who's able to kind of almost direct your own destiny. Why house cleaning?
Yeah, great question. To be honest with you, I didn't really pick it. I'm gonna be straight up and honest. So what happened was, is as a guy that I said we have plenty of time as athletes, I was just scrolling through Twitter, and I saw a lot of people talking about boring businesses, and one of the boring businesses was home cleaning, right? Like I would say it's a pretty untapped industry. It's
Yeah.
starting to get bigger, especially with people like HSA that's coming out and talking about it. But um, you know, being able to jump into something that doesn't take a lot of upfront cash was huge. And then secondly is just being able to learn from people, especially on Twitter. Like there's so many guys out there that now I follow that talk about little tips and tricks and stuff like that on Twitter is huge. Um, and you can grow it pretty quick. I think it's really cool how fast you can grow it. It depends on the time and effort that you put into it, is just like anything else. Um, and secondly, AI is not going to take over. Nobody's going to get a robot to clean their house, especially for moving in and out cleans, um, and that. So it's a pretty safe industry, and so that's kind of how I got into it. So yeah, I didn't actually expect to be an owner of a cleaning company. I'll be straight up, but it's been a great experience.
Dude, that's awesome. What's like the long term vision that you have as of right now? Because I know that that could change and it could shift and evolve, but as of right now, even with having this business for roughly about a year, where's your head at? Like, where are you wanting to not just take this, but where are you wanting to go long term now that you have this newfound vision?
Yeah, great question again. I'm gonna be honest. Like I kind of thought I was gonna be in this industry for 2 5 years, and now that I've been following more, I would say gurus, and listening to people talk about how business truly works. I don't ever see myself stopping this business. I think especially like Johnny says all the time. Like his first year, I think he did something like 6 to 8K. This next year, he did like 25K, and he just grew it, and now he's $1 million business. And I think it takes time, and it's like the rule of seven, right? Like it's gonna double at some point. And so for me, I don't ever want to leave the industry. I kind of actually want to take over Calgary.
Yeah.
Calgary's is like where home is, and I'm always going to live there. And I would love to take it over. That's kind of one of my goals. But I think long term, have this as I wouldn't say side business, but have other people run it for me. It's not going to be my end all be all kind of thing. Um, I like I said, I love golf. I want to be able to spend some time on the links, but also potentially start a business in golf somehow, some way, and so just use this and the learning tools that I've learned so far and continue to learn is bring that into the next industry. Whether that is golf, whether that's real estate, whatever it might be, is just learning from this and using those and applying it into different industries.
You talked about different like skills that you've learned, and just from this business alone, if there's somebody out there who's thinking, man, I really want to get into this industry, or even just start being an entrepreneur, start being a business owner who to some degree has some control over their financial destiny, what advice do you have for those people?
First and foremost, I would say be organized. That's not one of my strong suits. But you definitely need to know the numbers of any industry that you're getting into. You need to do a little bit of market research, right? Like I kind of jumped into it, and I was fortunate enough to work with you guys, so that really helped. But knowing the market, like just comparing the numbers that you're going to bring into it versus your competitors is huge, and then also building a team around yourself. There's a difference between being a business owner and having a job, right?
Hmm.
People say they're an entrepreneur, but they're really not. If the business can't run by itself or without you there 24/7, you have a job, you don't have a business. So building a strong foundation at the beginning and making sure that you have reliable people that have the same core values as you is huge. Um, Again, that's like something that happens in with the hockey team, right? If everybody else is kind of doing their own thing and they're not really focused on hockey, the team won't be successful. And so,
Yeah.
you bring that into the business side of it. You need to have people that you can rely on, that you trust to make decisions for you, that are speaking for you in behalf of you, and that's probably one of the biggest things too. Is just having that team there. Um, I guess the other thing too is learn from other people's mistakes. Um, you're not the first person to start this business, and you're not going to be the last. And there's so many people out there that are willing to help, and take that advice. You might have a little bit of a different path than they did, but at the end of the day, what they've failed on, you can learn so that you don't have to fail it and learn for yourself.
Mm.
And the faster you understand that, the faster you'll be able to succeed.
It's really interesting. I'm like thinking about all the time that we've had to work together, and you're such an aggressive guy, and you know that that's 100% true. You're very aggressive with your goals. You're very aggressive with whatever you have in front of you. But one thing that I have a lot of respect for you in regards to is that you're aggressive yet patient. And this hasn't been like super easy the entire past year that you've been building this business. There have been plenty of times where it's like, man, this is just kind of really bumpy right now. But you've had this mentality of it's going to work out. I need to be patient and I need to do the things that are going to help progress the business in the meantime. You've never been one to sit idle, just say, well, there's nothing I can do. There's always something that you've done in the background, even if it was a little bit slower, or your team wasn't the way that you were hoping it would look, whether it was cleaners, VAs, any of these things. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I love being aggressive. Um, to me, life is like a video game, right? Like to be honest with you, it's like a video game, right? Like there's guys that sit there and there's a big boss at the end of it, and I think that's to me that's the government is the big boss, and you got to fight the big boss. And so, how can I fight them the best? Is I got to level up my game as fast as possible. So when it comes to the very end, the last level, um, I have all the tools that I need to fight them. So that's kind of one thing that I like about it. But two is, like, yeah, everyone's going to have their ups and downs, right? But it's kind of how you react to the situation. Uh, I've had a lot of coaches tell me in the past that you're a piece of meat. We can get somebody else that comes in and does the job better than you, works harder than you, and kind of taking that with a grain of salt and bringing this into this industry is there's other people doing the business and they're probably working a little bit harder than you. They're spending a little bit more time on it. And are you going to sit there and cry about it? Or are you just going to work a little harder, strive for better goals, and hold yourself accountable? And that's kind of how I've seen successful people do it. They might say it in different words,
Mm.
but at the end of the day, it's all up to yourself and how much you're willing to put in and sacrifice. That's how much you're going to get out.
Mm. Well, now you're forcing me to ask this question. What would you say you've had to sacrifice? Because you have had, I would say, a fair amount of success with this business thus far, even early on. What type of sacrifices are you talking about?
For me, Right now, there's a few. One of them would be definitely in the summertime when the boys are asking me to go out and play some golf. Sometimes I can't go out. I have a meeting with a potential client that I need to go to. But I know in the end, if I close that client, I'll have more time to golf. So yeah, that's a little bit of a sacrifice at the beginning, but it's going to pay off in the end. And if it doesn't work out, guess what? It's a learning opportunity.
Mm.
The success I've had first off is we've had great success at the beginning, and some of them worked out, some of them didn't. And so the ones that worked out, I didn't learn much on. But the ones that failed and I messed up on, those are the ones that I learned the most. And, you know, it sucks at the time, you feel like a failure, but in the end, it actually has helped me out the most, for sure. I'll say that. But yeah, like, to be honest with you, um, just going off of that, it's all about who you are as a person and the sacrifices that you're willing to make. Everyone's going to have different sacrifices. So
Mm.
one of the sacrifices I have to make is I stay up very late in Sweden. The business runs 8 hours behind, so Sweden's 8 hours ahead of Calgary, where I live. And so everyone else is going to bed at 10:30, 11 o'clock, and I'm going to bed at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. um, Sitting there tired, I don't want to do it, but nobody cares how you feel at the end of the day. Success isn't some secret thing. It's just put in the effort and things like that. Um, Friday, like the business itself, it's 24/7, right? It runs all the time, and so there's nights that the boys are going out on a Friday after a big win, and I can't go. I got to sacrifice. I can't go out and hang out with the boys, and that sucks at the time. But when I look back at it, when I'm 50 years old and I can retire early, and I'm doing my thing, and they're still working, is it really big? Is it that much of a sacrifice? I don't really think so. You have plenty
Yeah.
of time to go out and have a couple drinks with your friends. So at the end of the day, it's you could say it's a sacrifice, but really in the end, it's more of putting in your dues so that you can get it back in the end.
Mm. It's funny that you mentioned being 50 years old and being able to really do what you want. I have a very close family member, and we were just having this conversation the other day. For context, he worked incredibly hard. I mean, like, incredibly intelligent guy, worked his butt off, and built like an empire for himself to where he could retire by the age of 55. And we were actually talking about how a lot of people get scared of getting old. And he said, I feel like I never had to worry. I haven't had to worry about getting old because of the fact that I have what I need. I don't have to worry for the rest of my life. I get to enjoy my retirement. I get to go wherever I want to go, spend time with you guys, family, literally whenever I want to. And if I ever want to work, which he loves to work, that's just part of who he is. I really admire it. He can go and work and make as much money as he really wants, right? But now the difference is he has the option to work. He has the option to do what he wants when he wants. Um, and I would say that's not something that many people get to say because they didn't have enough delayed gratification. They didn't have enough patience, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, that allowed them to make it that far. A lot of people stop short, and then they don't have that option.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I would say like I envy that guy. I think being able to do what you want when you want to do it is that's true freedom, right? And I've lived in America. God bless America. I love how everyone loves the freedom over there. I'll say, Canada, they think they're free, but in the end, we're really not. And so,
Mm.
to me, like the one of the quotes I love, right, is money doesn't buy happiness; it buys freedom, and freedom is
Mm.
happiness. And
Mm.
so, I'm a big family guy. a really big family guy, right? Like, yeah, I'm looking to start a family here very, very soon. And so it's I see my grandfather, for example, very, very successful man, and he never stops working, but it's the work he wants to do, and he gets to spend time with his grandchildren all the time. We go golfing all the time. In the summers, we go out to his cabin, and we spend a lot of quality time together. And that's the thing, right? Like, time is huge, especially at that age. If you have to worry about, what you're gonna do if you're gonna put food on the table, um, you're not really spending quality time that you want to do it with, and who
Yeah.
you want to do it with, right? So, um, yeah, it's again, you say sacrifice at the beginning, delay gratification, but really it's no. Like, I'm 26 years old. I have so much time on my hands. I have so much energy that I can use, so that when I am 55, 60, 70, I don't have to put in the hours that I need to put in now, and I can spend it with the people I want to spend it with. And that's true happiness to me.
Well said, man. I love that. Um, if you could kind of break down for me, just kind of going back to your business, you've been running it almost a year now. You've been a part of Accelerator for some time. Um, Walk me through where your business is at. Like, what are you guys doing? What does your team look like? Just overview. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so right now, I currently have one manager, um, virtual assistant, if you want to call them, Jessica. We're in the works right now of hiring a second one. Um, we fluctuate anywhere between 35 and 45,000 a month, which is good, but it's not great. There's a lot of people that are doing a lot better, and I want to get there.
Mm.
It's a cool, you could pat yourself on the back and say congratulations, but at the end of the day, it's not good enough. And so for me, it's like that's one thing that is going to motivate me to work even harder. With cleaners, we fluctuate anywhere between 3 to 4 teams. We're in the works. We're always working to get more cleaners.
Oh yeah.
That's one thing that I've learned from you guys is you can never have enough cleaners, because you don't know when the hot season is going to come, right? You can get your leads could be very slow one month, and then the next month they're so hot. And if you don't have enough cleaners, you're not going to book, and you're going to lose out on massive opportunity. And so even just having them in the pipeline, you might not use them all the time, but
Hmm.
you got to explain that to them, and they got to trust that you're going to get them the jobs that they need. And
Hmm.
so, um, that's huge. One thing that I'll say too is my dad is like, he said this to me, is the people that you work with, you want to better their lives, right? You're
Mm.
the owner here. So Jessica, she's out in the Philippines, by far the best employee I probably would say anyone will ever have. And I want to better her life, right? Like, I'm not working for myself at this point in time. I'm working for her. The better our company does, the better she does. And if
Yeah.
she's going to give me the hours that I'm asking for, I want to help her out as best as possible, give her
Mm.
massive bonuses, give her the freedom to go out and take vacations and spend time with her family. And so that's something that I strive to do for everyone that it works for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always been something that you've been very, very vocal about, um, from the very beginning. Like, is that you want to make sure that you're pouring into the lives of those that are working for you. And I would say that you're somebody who has not had a problem with cleaners leaving, um, VAs leaving. Obviously, once you found the right one, you had to give the boot to a couple of other people, but it's part of the job. Um, you know what? What's been some of like the biggest challenges though? Because I mean, dude, you're like very headstrong. It seems like you got everything working for you. But what's been honestly like one of the most challenging parts of this whole thing, this whole experience?
Yeah, there's a couple things that I find challenging. First one is probably just holding myself accountable. I know it sounds like I talk a big game, but there's a lot of days that I wake up and I'm like, dude, I don't want to do this. Like, I
Mm.
gotta do this. I gotta answer this call. Like, I would rather just sit here and watch Netflix or go and shoot pucks or something. But that's tough. That's the struggle. That's the grind, right? Is the grind is motivating yourself and making it do it. That's probably really tough for me, especially.
Mm.
But two, trying to find people that have the same values as you.
Mm.
Um, I would say my generation, our generation, you and I are pretty close in age. They're weak. They're really weak. Their mind is I call them mental midgets. They can't handle the stress. They don't they 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 really just want it easy, right? And
Yeah.
life isn't easy, dude. Um so finding people that are willing to sacrifice just as much as you are and want the same goals is kind of what you are. That's tough. I was lucky enough to get Jessica. You know, she very much believes in what I believe in. Um, and so even with cleaners, right? Like there's cleaners that expect you to pay them X amount of dollars per hour, and they don't understand. They can't wrap their heads around. You know, if you give them a little bit less, and you're able to book in more recurring jobs because you're paying them. Let's just say it's $35 an hour they're asking for, and you pay
Mm.
them $28 an hour, but you get 50 recurrings because of it, it's actually going to pay off in the end to make way more money because the $35 an hour is probably one time off, right?
Yeah.
So they see it right away as just, I'm making $35 an hour, but they don't understand that in the end, getting paid that, well, let's just say $28, right? Like 50 recurrings, you're going to make way more money the next month. And so having to deal with people that can't wrap their heads around certain things, um, and just weak-minded people. Like I had to deal with one of these cleaners, and she was complaining that I wasn't giving her enough jobs. Like I promised her X amount of jobs per month, and one of the things is like we had a couple issues with some of the jobs. She would show up a little bit late, or she would have to do a go back. Like we do 100% satisfaction guarantee. So if you're not doing it correctly and the client's not happy, free of charge, we go back and fix up whatever we missed, whatever, like to make them happy. And she wasn't happy with that. And so I had to let them go, right? But there's other cleaners that really buy in and guarantee their work. And
Yeah.
those are the people you want to work with, right? If you're
Mm.
guaranteeing your work, you trust what you do, that's the type of person I really want to work with.
Yeah. That's good, man. That's really good. You know, when you joined Home Service Academy, Accelerator, starting off the cleaning business, I'm sure that you came in with some sort of expectation. Maybe you weren't 100% sure what it would look like, but has it lived up to your expectation, like genuinely?
Yeah, I would say I actually exceeded it. I was pretty cocky at the beginning. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was gonna be a lot easier than it was. I had this whole mindset that like, oh yeah, I see people do it all the time. It's gonna be easy. Um, but no, like the first thing that when I started working with you and you talked about this, and this is why I really joined the accelerator, coming out of HSA, was the leaky bucket, right?
Hmm.
And patching up those holes to make a good foundation. And we had tons of little holes in our bucket, and to work with you guys and understand what those little holes are. Like I didn't even realize they were little holes, and just being able to sit down with you one on one for an hour or whenever it is, like booking some time with you guys and going to those live calls, that happen every single day. They're huge, right? Like I've learned more about marketing than I would have ever learned anywhere else. Just
Mm.
Facebook marketing, LSA, what's the differences, between bottom of the barrel leads to hot leads to cold leads to what's going to happen, um, what you should be spending
Hmm.
for customer acquisition in this industry, like little
Mm.
things that you don't even think about when you're starting out. It's just huge, right? and
Yeah.
and taking the the data that you're getting and being able to, use it for your benefit. We at the beginning, our customer acquisition cost was like $160. Now it's down to 80, I think,
Yeah.
82. And so I would never have been able to do that without your guys' help. Um, and just the coaching has been phenomenal too. Um, Everyone in there is such a good person, and I love chatting with you guys. And the cool thing is too is we don't even always have to talk about business. We can talk about life, and I think life
Mm.
correlates to the business, right? You see what's going on in the news, you see what's going on across the world, and you use those little chats that you have, and you can then take it and put it into your business. It doesn't
Yeah.
always have to just be about you and your business. And I think that's the coolest part. Like, it's not just like, you're my coach, but you're also a friend, right? Like, if you ever are out in Calgary, like you're coming out, we're getting either a glass of water or maybe a beer. I don't know, um, but no, we hang out and we chit chat, and it's been fun. Like, it's not just work. It's actually
Yeah.
fun to come in and join this program and meet you guys and meet other classmates, right? There's a couple of people that I chat with, like Jazz. She shoots me a text and we chit chat here or there and we ask each other questions. Skyler, been a big help too.
Yeah.
Megan too. Like, like we just talk about little things and what you've experienced. Maybe I can put that into my business. And I'll help them if they need any help. And so it's a real community, and I think it's very, very cool.
Yeah. Well said, man. I love that. It's cool when you get to work with people that aren't just knowledgeable, but they care about you as a person and can have fun, right? Like, I would never want to work with somebody that if I felt like I was going to get on a call with them, I just dreaded every time we were to have a conversation. That would just be awful. I would never want that. But makes me really happy to hear that you see that you can trust us, right? You can trust us as people. You can trust us as partnering with you in your business. That's always something that we strive for. One of our core values is Chick-fil-A level of service. And so it sounds like you've gotten that, which makes me really happy. But this has been good, man. Just before we close out, I mean, are there any like final closing thoughts that you want to provide to anybody that's listening to this interview?
Yeah, a few things. If you're not an accelerator, join it. It's You think you can do it on your own, you can't, dude. I'm telling you, everyone out there, unless you've already started a multi-million dollar business, and I'm talking multi-millions, you're gonna fail if you don't join. No, you won't fail, but it's huge. Like, there's a lot of things that you don't even think about. Um, that just little tips and tricks, man. It's worth it. And the hours that you put into the accelerator, you're gonna gain a lot more hours with the learning experience you're gonna get. Right? Like, I would have failed a lot faster and a lot harder on some of these topics that are just easy now. It's great. So that's first and foremost. And I would say too is have the mindset of nobody cares how you feel. If you're sick, if you're tired, it doesn't matter. Get up and do it, because somebody else out there, maybe different country, same city, it doesn't matter. They're working harder than you, and if you
Hmm.
don't work as hard as them or outwork them, you ain't gonna be successful. I'll tell you that for free.
Hmm. That's good, man. I love how blunt you are. It's good. Just be upfront with people, man, because at the end of the day, we're not here to be fake. We want to give them the real, real. So, Tommy, dude, I
Absolutely.
always love our conversations, man. This is one of them that I will always remember. Um, Thank you for your time, man. Appreciate you.
Trevor, thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.